Honestly speaking, Labour cannot catch a break. They seem to be fumbling all over the place in government and their representatives when they sit on the panel in GB News or any other panel for that matter. But anyway, this video is going to be about Bill Rammell from the Labour Party talking about how Reform UK and Adam Brooks are somehow far right. And Adam Brooks basically poses the question to him like, are Reform voters far right as well? And he's like, no, they're not far right, but the party is, and Adam Brooks is far right. A lot of what he says is far right, which I've heard Adam Brooks talk many times. He's not saying anything that's super far right. He just cares for immigration and the United Kingdom. That's what a sensible person should be thinking of. Anyway, guys, let's get straight into the content. If there's any comments, I'll come with it.
There is no free speech in Britain. There's a perception of free speech. You know, we'd like to go around saying, there's free speech here, or we've got free speech. If there's consequences to free speech, Adam, I don't think it's free speech.
No, look, I'm very surprised I haven't been pulled in for some of my tweets. They're not illegal, but I've got strong opinions. Our justice system used to be the envy of the world. Now, people are looking at this country in shock and horror, as we've seen with the Americans. Lucy Connolly is a 41-year-old mother. She does not deserve to be in prison for a tweet. The tweet was bad taste and it was wrong. But for me, it wasn't illegal. You couldn't prove that she incited anyone. And also, I said on the Friday night show, there was a guy called Ibrahim Mir who was running around on a counter-protest in a balaclava with a brick in his hand, who was arrested, charged and sentenced. He got a suspended sentence. He was part of a counter-riot. Who's more dangerous to society? A man in a balaclava with
I agree.
Or Lucy Connolly and with a keyboard?
I agree. But Bill Rammell, where does this leave Sir Keir Starmer? Why would Trump intervene like this, do you think? And what would the Prime Minister be thinking tonight, having read this front page?
Firstly, let me say I'm a very strong proponent of free speech. As Higher Education Minister, I defended the right of the Oxford Union to invite Nick Griffin from the BNP. So I believe in free and open debate. I also, with respect to Lucy Connolly, I do feel the sentence was disproportionate, but we have an independent judiciary in this country. They've reviewed it and stuck with the decision. But the idea that Donald Trump is a protector of free speech. Please look at what is happening in the United States, where he's banning journalists from the White House because they criticise him. Where legitimate, where legitimate green card holders are being expelled from the country because they protested over Gaza. Where an academic with a visa turns up at the border and is turned away because he's made comments critical online of Donald Trump. Donald Trump supports free speech when it's on his terms.
I'd like to address those points. So banning journalists from the White House press briefing isn't constraining free speech. It's like blocking somebody on Twitter. You can block them on Twitter. You can say what you want. You're just not invited to the press briefing. Don't say what you want.
Sorry, if this government was banning news outlets from the Downing Street lobby, it would rightly be criticised and castigated. But that's what Trump is doing. He only invites
why is he
journalists.
intervening now? I know you don't like Donald Trump. Why is he intervening with the UK, do you think?
Well, One, he shouldn't be. This is a State Department statement saying they're monitoring the situation. I think they've had pressure from some of the far-right activists who are supporting this.
Such as Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
He's not far right, by the way. I will say he's not far right.
All right, but others, and therefore they're putting out a holding statement saying we're monitoring the situation.
What makes far right? Bill, am I far right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely bonkers.
No, I'm not.
Far right.
Yeah, if you look at any classical...
What makes me far right, Bill?
If you look in any classical political terms, the views you espouse, Adam, are far right.
Any credibility you ever had with the viewers. I'm far right.
Bill, you clearly, Adam, every week you claim that you're a sage of public opinion with your finger on the pulse because a few people come into your pub.
Bill, you are deluded. You are utterly deluded.
No, I think you're the one who's deluded.
The audience are probably screaming at the telly right now.
Bill, the reason why the Labour Party are absolutely tanking in the polls at the moment, because they have this vision that you have, that the bell curve of opinion is completely out of whack with reality. They think that if you care about immigration and you want to stop the boats and you want to bring down both legal and illegal migration, that makes you far right, when actually it probably puts you in the middle of the bell curve.
Not true.
So
hold on, Adam, you keep interrupting people.
Stop.
Why am I far right?
Hang on, stop. We can conduct this debate without raising voices and getting shouty, okay?
I've just been accused of being far right.
No, let's have it out.
Tell me why I'm far right, Bill.
I agree. Let's have it out on a sensible level, though.
You have just said that the Labour Party is not committed to reducing immigration. We had
That's not what I said.
You get that? Why?
No, I said that
we had
the
an
Labour Party
explicit manifesto commitment to reduce immigration. The government wants to reduce immigration.
I don't think that they genuinely want to make a concerted effort to do so. They are starting to wake up to the fact that this nation cares about immigration. But I think many people in the Labour Party still think that people... Right, the fact that you've had Labour MPs calling Keir Starmer out and calling him Enoch Powell for addressing concerns about immigration goes to show that there is an issue with people in the Labour Party having a completely twisted idea of what makes you far right and what makes you normal.
There have always been a handful of Labour MP, Labour activists who will criticise the language of the Prime Minister about immigration or the policies to reduce immigration.
Bill, can I say,
the party is committed to it.
Can I say, when you call people like Adam Brooks far right, I mean, far right are people who have been recently nicked by the NCA for plotting to blow up mosques and so on with Molotovs or whatever. Those people are far right.
Name one thing I've said that's far right.
Having concerns about migration. Name something that Adam has done that's far right, please.
Oh, there's all sorts of things. OK, so the other week you quoted a statistic saying that 70% of the crimes that are committed in this country are committed by illegal immigrants.
I didn't say
Completely
that.
untrue.
That is an absolute lie.
Then go back to the coverage and observe it. That is an absolute lie. I've corrected you 3 or 4 times and made you look silly on this programme with facts. Well, likewise.
Right?
So
I've never said.
So what proportion did you say?
I didn't say that, Bill. Bill.
What was it the story about sex offenders, that illegal migrants are 3.5 times more?
Yeah, I quoted the Telegraph or something like that. Are they far right? Is reform far right, Bill?
Yes.
Oh, you're mad. You're absolutely mad.
Your distinction. There's a distinction between extreme right and far right on any classical definition of the political spectrum. Adam, I respect your views, but I disagree with them. But in classical terms, you're on the far right.
Tens of millions of people in this country as far right if you think I'm far right.
So, Bill, the latest poll of polls has reform on 30%. Are you saying that 30% of the country are far right?
No, because, look, we have a fractured political system at the moment, and you keep talking about reform surging. Actually, what the local elections demonstrate and what the polls demonstrate... No, they don't. Go back to 1981, and the SDP were at 51% of the polls. Right. This is not surging. It's a system that is fracturing.
All right, Bill, can I just clarify? So you think Reform UK are far right, but the millions of people who voted for them are not?
Absolutely,
how do you square that?
Because people were voting in protest. It was a protest vote. And look at the detailed polling evidence from More in Common, where they interviewed people who'd voted for reform, and their key message for voting reform was, we want to send a message to the government.
Well, I will say, with respect, I respect you, regardless of views. We disagree, and that's how it should be. You can listen to other people's views and still respect them. With respect to you, I think you are the epitome of the Labour government at the moment, where they're completely out of touch with normal people. You've got your fingers in your ears. You, quite frankly, are disconnected with the right-thinking men and women of this country by calling reform far right. And even Adam, he's a publican who the bloke owns a pub and is concerned about immigration and doesn't think that men can be women. I don't think that's far right.
I sit and debate with him every Sunday evening, and I have a clear view from what you argue and what you say on not extreme right, but I would describe you as far right, and I think that's legitimate. But that doesn't mean that it is wrong to advocate reducing immigration, and that's what the government's trying to do.
That was a heated debate. I feel like Ben Leo shouldn't have slowed it down. He should have allowed them to just exchange dialogue. You just have to do it in the heat of the moment, when just everything's bubbling up, because then you get a real solid, strong and organic debate. But anyway, what I will say is that Adam Brooks, I've watched him, a few times recently in debates on GB News, and everything he says seems to be in line with the normal thinking man and woman in the United Kingdom. I haven't heard anything that he said that has been far right. I'm just being super honest. He seems reasonable. He's just a logical thinker. That's just it. I was watching him in the debate with Fahima over, the Islamification of the United Kingdom, and he wasn't even saying, he was kind of, to be fair, he was kind of like beating around the bush. He wasn't even coming with it straight down the middle. He was beating around the bush because he didn't want to offend, the Muslim community. I could see it when he was debating. So he's not far right. He's just, well, from what I've seen, he's not a far-right guy. He just seems like a logical thinker, and Labour need more logical thinkers in their cabinet, not people like Keir Starmer that says, yeah, we're going to stop the gangs, we're going to be robust on immigration because he sees he lost the local election by a landslide. And then the next week, he's now, you know, trying to implement policies whereby foreign workers can come and undercut the British worker, and foreign workers wouldn't have to pay, foreign workers from India wouldn't have to pay any national insurance, you know. So that's undercutting the average British worker, you know. That's crazy. Just a week after you say you're gonna, you know, be tight with immigration. I don't understand how that works in his mind. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.